Going live in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome, everybody. Today with us we have a very big legend, RB Ramesh sir. So before sir, I talk to you. Let me just introduce Anirban ji to you. Anirban is a comedian, is one of the most top comedians in India, and Anirban ji, Ramesh sir is the best trainer in the world. He literally has
Yes.
got the award also for the best trainer of chess in the world. So Ramesh sir, how are you doing today? Ramesh
Yeah,
ji,
hello Samay, hello Anirban. It's my pleasure to be. Yeah,
no, sir, there was some lag, so just that's it.
yeah. I hope my audio is.
Yes, it's clear.
Yeah, okay. I'm sorry about that. I am currently at Russia and in a hotel room, and my internet is not great. The players are all preparing for which is going in another an hour and a half or so. So everyone is using the Wi-Fi connection.
Right.
So at this time, there could be some lag issues from my end. I'm
No,
sorry about that.
no stress,
And
sir.
hello everyone. And
Sir, how is like the hotel over there? We want to know because like we're just excited. Can you just tell us about how is like, is it like a 5 star or what is it? How is the hotel?
yeah, basically, like we have to choose. The organizers have given us option for five to choose from four different hotels, and the hotel which is very close to the playing venue, it's a five-star hotel as well, and where we are staying, myself and Pragnananda. I have come here as Pragnananda's coach, and also with Arvind Chidambaram, who is a current national champion. So I'm here with both these players, and our hotel is also a five-star hotel. The hotel is good. The internet is supposed to be good, but as you can see, because of all the players using the internet at the same time to check their analysis with the cloud engines, there is going to be a lot
Oh,
of drag from my end, and I apologize
no
in the
stress,
beginning
sir, no
No,
stress.
itself.
Always, and we will also apologize in advance for the quality of game that you're going to
yes.
see. So
Be-
I hope,
before
I hope you have
before
sanitizer ready because you'll have to sanitize your eyes before you see Pragnananda and Arvind's game.
before our games also we use the internet but to check out Eric Rosen traps.
Oh man! So first of all, very
No,
glad,
but
guys.
I'm really happy that
Yes, sir.
I'm really happy that you guys are popularizing the game at such a level. Like you are bringing out people who are new to the game. You are bringing thousands and thousands of players to chess. So that's a great service to the game. I'm really happy that to be a part of this.
Thank you so much, sir. Sir, you're also doing so much for chess, guys. Sir also has like an academy called Gurukul where he teaches chess, and it's one of the best academies to learn chess from. So, guys, I've pinned Ramesh sir's channel link in my YouTube chat, so you can go check out and drop a subscription because he's also a YouTuber and he also he's also streaming a lot. And I'm sure now COB is coming. Sir is going to be an integral part of the event. He's going to be one of the mentors, so he'll also be streaming a lot. So, guys, you can learn a lot of chess from him. And before we begin, Ramesh sir, how is the atmosphere over there? How is the preparation going on? Everyone must be stressed because direct knockouts.
Not stressed. I think the lower rated players who are going to meet the higher rated players in the first round, they will be rightfully stressed, not the higher rated players, because hopefully they will all be looking for an easy first round opposition. But in general, with the participation of the world champion Magnus Carlsen, he's here participating in this tournament. And also, we have players like Caruana Fabiano and many other top players playing. So the atmosphere is electric. Most of the best players in the world are here. And we also have, interestingly, all the young lions from India. We have Nihal Sareen, Gukesh, Arjun Erigasi, we have Pragnananda, so Adiban, the Beast. So it's a very interesting fight from the Indians as well, and especially from the young players. We also have Vidit Gujarati and Adiban, who are
Yeah.
very well known, and they have also been streaming a lot. But we also have Nihal Prag and Gukesh. I'm looking a lot to see how these young thugs will perform.
Yeah, I just actually had a call with Vidita and Adiban. I was asking them for COB, when are you free? So they said knockouts will decide whenever we are free. So I am just some were hoping that they
Yeah.
also come join us, but some were also hoping that they do great. So I am like tied up. And also, apparently, in the coming week, Adiban versus Vidit might happen if Adiban wins and Vidit wins. So one of them is definitely going to join us as a mentor. But right now we have Ramesh sir with us. Ramesh ji,
In a way,
without any further ado, let's begin, sir. I'll just send you
sure.
the link. Anirban, are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
IDG. Sir, this Anirban is a very tactical monster. He'll give any random sacrifices, sir. So I'm a little worried about this guy, but I'll try to play some solid chess.
Okay, I will give some tips during the game.
We won't be able to hear you, sir. You can comment it as you like,
Okay.
whatever you want with the chat. I've already given you the link of the game in the Zoom chat. Also, you can see the stream, and if you want to interact with the chat, you can do that, sir. Or if you want to just comment it, you can do whatever you feel like, sir.
Sure, I'll do that.
Just if you can confirm that you
So-
can see the stream, then you can see the
Yeah,
games.
I
I'll
can
just
see
go
the
off.
game.
You can see the game.
I can see the
All right.
game.
We're
Yeah.
going off, sir.
I
It's
can
all
see the
yours. Bye, bye, sir.
Yeah.
In the middle, if you need anything,
Yeah, bye.
something's not working, just give me a call on my WhatsApp.
Sure, I'll do that.
All right, sir. All the best.
Okay, so I can see that. Yeah, good luck, both of you. So I can see that Samay is playing with black pieces. He has played the Sicilian, and White has played the Mora Gambit. Okay, so like Samay mentioned earlier, White is already sacrificing a pawn, and I'm not sure if I can make arrows. Let me try. Okay, so he has sacrificed a pawn, and this is for development. And White generally tries to take knight c3 after bishop c4, e6. Instead of playing knight f3, normally they play knight c3. Let me see if I can. The move. Okay, yeah. So generally they try to do this, but we can see that Anirban has been delaying knight c3 capture. So it's interesting to see that he's taking a lot of chances to play for a win and shows his confidence in his abilities. And that's a very good thing. Okay, so now Samay, he has few options. One, he can try to take the b2 pawn, but the problem is it will allow White to develop the bishop. And I'm not sure if I can, if I should make moves. Okay, so Samay also does not want to go after the pawn. And now I am little worried about the pawn move coming to e5, attacking the knight. So White has the option to play e5 to attack the knight. Can I make arrows? I'm worried if it will disturb the players. So can you educate me in the chat? If I make arrows, will it disturb the players? That's what I'm worried about. Would you prefer? Would you prefer me to make arrows on the board? Okay. Okay. Okay, fine. Okay, so at this point, he was having the option to play e5. They can't see. Okay, fine. So Samay is not worried about this move e5 at all. But being black, I would worry about this a little bit, and probably in that case, I would prefer to play d6 to prevent e5. I can do screen share. Okay. This move, I'm not very sure why Anirban played this move, because it kind of slows down White's play. So I'm not worried about the move h3 from black. I think this is not probably the best move. And Samay, okay, he's attacking the bishop. So now he has two options. He can pull back the bishop to h4, or he could grab on f6. That is also possible. And White has sacrificed a pawn. And why he has sacrificed a pawn, that we have to understand clearly. It is for quick development. So White is, you can see, only the queen and rook are not developed. Only two pieces are not developed. Whereas black, he has to worry about these three pieces, right? And also it is not easy for the light sky colored bishop to come out quickly. So they have to, black has to find a way to quickly get the bishop out. So Anirban, he has decided not to exchange the bishop. This is very important. When you are trying to attack the opponent and when you have sacrificed a pawn to attack, then it is important we don't exchange pieces, because the less pieces on the board, then the attacking chances also reduce correspondingly, isn't it? So white wants to keep more pieces on the board, and now black has to find a way to develop his bishop, the light color bishop, which I highlighted some time ago. So one way to do that is to play a6 b5. Okay, so the other way is to go b6 and bishop b7. This was also possible, but this move I am not very happy. I'm not very happy with black's move here, because he's moving the same piece twice, right? We developed the bishop and now we are moving it again. So generally we try not to move the same piece twice in the opening. And the black bishop on e7 was not black's main problem, isn't it? His main problem was how to complete his development. But again, Anirban's move also I'm not very sure, because he looks like he's blundering the e4 pawn. It looks like the pawn on e4 is hanging. So maybe after the move I will highlight it. So I think probably bishop b4 was not required. Like I said, he should have focused on completing development of the light color bishop. Now I'm just hoping Samay will take the pawn on e4, and I don't see any danger in taking that pawn. Yeah, he has taken the pawn, and now next move probably is going to play d5, and then it will strengthen the strong knight on e4. So now white has sacrificed not one but two pawns. Two pawns white has sacrificed, and I am not seeing a clear attack on the king side, and it also doesn't. I don't see any good compensation for white in this position. So I think the move played knight b5 by white was not a good move. Probably it's already a big mistake from Anirban. I think black is clearly better here. Like I showed, he's going to push the pawn to d5. So Anirban doesn't want to give time to Samay to get the pawn coming here by attacking the bishop. So probably we have two options. One, black can simply go back to offer an exchange of bishops with bishop c5. Okay, I don't want to show the arrow. I'm just worried if the players can see that. So, okay, so Samay prefers to go bishop e7. This was also very much possible, because when you have extra material, it makes sense to exchange pieces. Okay, so when you have extra pawns on the board, it makes sense to trade as many pieces as you can. So bishop c5 was possible. Oh, players cannot see. Okay, because I am not sharing the screen because of my poor internet. I'm not sharing my screen from Zoom. That's why. Okay, so now is again threatening to play d5. So white has to act very quickly. I'm trying to find moves which will keep black busy without giving him time to push this d5. Okay, so again you see white is also moving the same piece again and again. Now this is a common problem with players who are trying to come up in their chess career. So what they do, they keep moving the same piece again and again. Now, if you see on move 11, the knight on c3, which was already developed, he moved it to b5 two times, right? And the bishop, it is moving two times, right? And also the bishop, it first came to e7, then it went to b4, then it again went to e7, right? So this is a common problem. Players, they move the same piece which is not under attack, multiple times. So with the pawn move d6, he's trying to block this diagonal and prevent the knight coming to c7. It's not a blunder yet because there are three protections to the pawn and there are only three attacks, right? So the pawn is not hanging. So Anirban is simply developing the rook, which is generally good idea. But here, because he is having 2 pawns down, 2 pawns less, he should not play quiet move because this move does not threaten anything. I would have preferred to put the rook on e1 instead of I would have preferred to put the rook here and attack the knight on the previous move instead of bringing the rook here, because immediately the rook was not threatening anything on this file. Okay, so Samay, what he has done, he has reduced pressure on his d6 pawn by blocking the bishop's diagonal. So the pressure has been reduced. And also he has given a path for the bishop to come out. And we can see that Samay has developed the queen and has kept a devilish trap. He wants to take knight to bishop and the pawn cannot capture because of the pin, right? So like I said, I apologize for the lag. Is threatening knight g3 and there is a pin, right? And he cannot take with the pawn.
Ramesh sir, if you're listening to this, I'm just hoping that Anirban plays rook e1 here.
Yes.
It will be so amazing if he plays rook e1 here.
So Samay, he is hoping he will not see, Anirban will not see the knight g3 threat and waiting for rook e1. So this is the first time I'm watching Anirban play, so I'm not very sure about his playing strength. I just hope he sees this. So this is a devilish threat. So already I'm very optimistic about black's position. One, the time factor also, you can see it's only 3 minutes to 5, 2 minute, 2.5 minutes almost time advantage for Samay.
Yes.
I has not seen it. Yes, not only he has lost the bishop, but he has also put the queen in a fantastic square where it will also mean he will lose another rook in the process. Okay, so we can see that
Sir,
Anirban, he is
please
not
ask
paying attention.
petition to FIDE to allow me also to play next World Cup, sir.
So Samay wants to me to petition to FIDE to let Samay play in the World Cup. Okay, so if you're going to get this kind of points, why not? Okay, so I think it's practically over for Anirban. And as a coach, I'm a coach now than a player or a streamer. So as a coach, what I would be recommending Anirban is to pay attention to opponent threats, right? When you see why he played queen b6, you have to ask yourself why my opponent played queen b6, and then immediately you can find that knight c3 is losing the bishop, right? Okay, so he's just losing one material after the other. So now the queen and the knight are also under attack. I think it's a very hopeless position for Anirban. But he started very actively. He sacrificed a couple of pawns and I felt his attack will come. But can you see any attack on the black king? It's not happening, right? You can see that the black king is perfectly safe. White has not done anything to threaten the black king. This is the problem. Whereas you see what he did, he went with the knight to b5, the rook to c1. He was playing on the queen side, isn't it? Whereas he should have been focusing on the black king by taking his pieces to the king side. So instead he pulled all his pieces from the king side to the queen side. You can see that all the white pieces are focused on the wrong side of the board, right? So sacrificing pawns and then playing on the queen side instead of attacking on the king side was a big mistake, and he is just losing material after material. So I guess Samay will simply take the rook as well. I'm not sure about this move. Okay, so he could have easily moved the rook. The previous move, he could have, instead of grabbing the pawn, he could have saved the rook, but Anirban, for some reason, He did not save the rook. Now also Samay can capture the rook. I'm not sure why is thinking at this point. Now you can see it is the white king that is coming under attack, right? Not the
Whenever I
black
have
king.
this
Black
position,
king.
sir, I think what would Mikhail Tal do here?
Mikhail
That's
Tal.
why I blunder, sir.
So okay, so Samay is saying like whenever he gets an attacking position, he will try to put himself in Michael Tal's position. That's a nice way to think. So we all know that Michael Tal is a great attacking player. So he wants to think like Michael Tal, like not going for material. So that is why he wants to go for checkmate. But one practical advice would be okay. So Michael Tal in that case he would play bishop to f5, I guess. Probably he will attack the queen and develop the bishop by attacking the queen using the knight to protect the bishop. So this is one possibility. Okay, but in general, if you have a terrific material advantage, okay, that's what he did. He brought the bishop out using the knight's support. So the point is you could always capture the rook, but is using the knight's position on g3 to put the bishop on f5. Very good. So I'm just don't have any suggestions for Anirban, unfortunately. All his pieces are hanging. So now the knight is under attack, so he's also threatening to capture on g3. So a move like bishop f6 will not work. Otherwise, you could get the bishop also into the game this way, but queen g3 is a threat. So I think it is probably time to capture the rook and be greedy for change. He doesn't want. He wants to retain the knight. Okay, so he is harassing the queen, and the king position is so bad for white. So it is bad news, and materially he's 2 pieces down. So you can see black has 4 minor pieces, whereas white has only 2. So he wants to keep some pieces to create an attack. So in this case, probably knight g5 is an interesting option to attack this. This is a possibility if you want to go for a kingside attack desperately. That is possible. Or you could get the bishop to some activity by including the bishop to attack. Okay, so there are many ways to play in this position, and Samay finds a nice way. Is bringing a piece from queen side to the king side to the center, which will give some threats against the king. So now the threat is to take on c4 and win the b5. So the threat was to take and win this. So Anirban is not paying attention to the threat. Okay, so in some ways he's paying attention because he's attacking the knight, but I think probably knight g5 and attacking the pawn. Okay, so it's again okay, 2 pieces up, anything should be winning, and he has 20 seconds to 2 minutes. So even time wise he's having a bad phase, and so we can see that these 2 rooks are not well developed, right? So we have few good ways to play. Okay, a6 knight c7. I don't know how the knight is going to come out. So for example, yeah, now the knight is also trapped. Yeah, Sunu, I will try to come to this streaming more often from now. Okay, so he has resigned. He's lost his peace.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, hello.
How was the match, sir?
Oh man.
Initially, the first few moves were I was expecting a good fight, but after that, I felt somehow Anirban completely collapsed.
Yeah, I did not see that pin.
Yeah. So should we go through the game?
Yes, sir.
Or
Let's go through the game.
okay, fine. So I'm on. So after d4, cd4, c3, dc3, bishop c4, I'm fine till here. Knight of 3, knight c6, also good. And at any point, Anirban could have taken knight c3, right?
Knight c3.
Take the pawn on knight c3, let's say on move 6.
Yeah.
On move 6, probably knight c3 was possible.
Instead
Yeah.
of castling.
But you chose to castle, which is also fine because you are not worried about him capturing cb2 because of bb2. You are getting very good development advantage. So they're asking, Samay, can you share the screen so they can see the arrows?
Yeah, the
Is
thing
that
is,
how it
since
works?
you didn't have good internet, no, so that's why I did not do that, because then that happens. No,
Puts
that.
more stress.
But your net is fine now. It seems fine. So maybe in the
Yeah,
next game, let's
so-
do it.
Yeah, okay. Or we can share now because I believe most of the players would have left for the lunch and then
Yeah.
from there they'll be going for the playing. So probably
I-
we can try screen sharing.
Yeah, you know, somewhere deep down, I feel great that even Russia has this problem.
No, it's all over.
Yeah. So can you make your screen a little downwards so that we can see your entire face? Right now, only your top of the face is
Okay,
visible.
One moment.
Chad, did you have fun in this commentary session? Because I think I played a great game.
Dude, you could have taken my rook in move 7.
You have to stop playing this
Yeah.
game. No, I couldn't have.
You
Ramesh
could
sir will
have.
tell you. Ramesh sir will tell you that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
okay.
is my face visible now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, fine.
All right, so we are at castles.
Yeah, so at this point also he could have taken the pawn on c3, but I understand like he's not worried about black winning the second pawn because it's getting quick development. So I appreciate Anirban that you are trying to you're ready to sacrifice material for quick development because many new players, they are not very comfortable doing this. They want to play with equal material. So you had the courage to sacrifice material for quick development. So I
Sir,
appreciate it.
Anirban sacrifices knights, queens, rooks, everything, sir. Trust me. You'll see
Yeah,
one
yeah,
more
I
game, you
understand.
will realize.
No, from this game itself, I got the impression. So the first thing is the good side is he's not very paying too much attention to the material part. And generally, there are three things in chess. One is quality, the other is quantity, and the other is the time factor. So is it okay if I explain this?
Yes,
Sir,
yes.
go ahead, sir. We are
Yes,
having so
please.
much fun.
Okay, fine. So there are three things in chess. One is quality, the other is quantity, and the other is time factor. Now, the time factor does not mean the time on the clock. It's completely different.
Okay.
Let me explain all the three quickly. So one is the quantity. This is the easiest to understand. We just have to count the pawns and the pieces. And if the pawns and pieces are equal, then we say materially the position is equal. But the material alone does not decide who is better, white is better or black is better. So basically, to understand who is better in a position, how do strong players evaluate the position? That is very important because if we can evaluate the position correctly, then we can go to positions which we feel is good for us and avoid positions which we know are bad for us. So the quantity part I have already explained. Just count the pawns and pieces. If they are equal,
Right.
one way to say the position is equal because the quantity is equal, but that is not the only factor here.
Right.
The other factor is the quality. Now this is a little hard to understand. So let me explain slightly in detail. So one, we have three things: pieces, pawns. Okay, my internet is unstable at this moment.
Someone has
I
had
think
their
it's
lunch, I
back
think.
to normal. Yeah,
So
most likely.
there is a lag, you know, if the
Fine.
net is going
So-
across. So for 2 seconds after I crack a joke, I'm like, is this not funny? What happened? And then you laugh. I'm like, okay, it's funny. Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
Okay, so now let's look at the quality aspect. Now, in quality, there are three things on the board. One is the king. Let's not treat it as equal with the other pieces because if you lose the king, the game is over. So let us treat king separately. The other pieces, queen, minor pieces, and the rook, and finally the pawns. Now, the least value unit is the pawn. So the strong players, they don't pay too much attention to playing with equal pawns. So if they are one pawn down to get some good attack, they don't mind playing like those kind of positions. So the quality is mostly related to the king and then the pieces, because the king is the most important piece. We are trying to protect the king. So our king, whether we play with white or black, we should try to keep it as safe as possible. So this should be one of our targets. Our king should be safe. And the second thing is If let us assume both the kings are safe, then how do we know? And the material is also equal. Then how do we know who is better? Then we have to look at the quality of the pieces. So whose pieces are more active, right? And so the word we use in chess is active and passive instead of good and bad. So we don't say bad pieces or good pieces. We say active pieces or passive pieces. So the pieces which are good, active means they are doing a wonderful job, and pieces which are passive, they are like hiding behind our own material. So they are restricted in their mobility. So we have to look at the activity of pieces. So I would recommend to both of you to give importance to these three factors. One, keep your king safe, don't expose them. And another factor, how to keep the king safe is try not to make too many pawn moves in front of your king, because the pawns, as long as they remain closer to the king, they keep the king safe. But if you just have the pawns closer to the king, it's not enough. Ideally, we should have one minor piece in front of the king also. So with 2 or 3 pawns plus one minor piece in front of the king will generally ensure the king is safe. So keep your king safe. That will be one of our targets. And the second thing, keep your pieces as active as possible. Bring them all out in full glory, not hide them behind the pawn structure. So these three things. And the time factor. The time factor, it is little hard to understand, but in Anirban's case, he is playing for the time factor. He is not worried about the material. He is becoming a pawn down because he feels in that time where black spent, like black played c5, cd4, dc3, right on the screen. I showed arrows. Black played c5, cd4, dc3. So black has played 3 moves with the same pawn. So he has wasted some time here, right? So black has wasted some time, and white is hoping to use that extra time to quickly castle his king and bring out as many pieces as possible. So that's what he's aiming for. So that is a good thing. So the time factor is important mainly in 2 cases. One, in the early stages of the opening, where we are supposed to quickly develop our pieces. And the second stage where it is important is when we are attacking the opponent king. So we should see that our attack is faster, and especially when our opponent is also attacking us. If both sides are attacking each other, then the time factor is more critical. But if it's a one-sided attack, I am attacking my opponent, but my opponent is not attacking, then the time factor is not very important. I can slowly prepare my attack, right? So quantity, quality, and time, try to play with these factors in mind. So let's go to the game. Now, on 7th move, Anirban played bishop g5. This, I think, is a blunder.
Could I have taken bishop?
Yeah, you can take my rook.
But I thought e5 is coming.
Yeah, e5 is coming. You could capture. So maybe I can.
If you tell me the moves, I'll make it, sir.
So bc3, cb2 on move 7, yes, cb2, e5, and ba1.
And
ef6, gf6, gf6.
Sir, my king is like.
But you have a pawn cover, no? You have 4 pawns surrounding your king.
Oh, and I have a queen also now, new queen.
And you have an extra queen too. Yeah. So that was.
Oh, damn. I was just winning here.
Yeah. So after bishop g5, you played bishop e7. For some reason, I lost the moves when I made.
If there's a cyclic arrow mark on the right side, bottom right. If you click on it, it'll come back.
Yeah, it has come back. Thanks for that. So you played the bishop e7. I can understand you simply wanted to quickly develop your pieces. You already have an extra pawn, so you don't have to be greedy like a Pac-Man. And this is one of the problems with many upcoming players. They are like Pac-Man, gobble pawns at the cost of development. So you didn't fall for it. So from that sense, it's fine. Okay, he took knight c3, castle. And till now, I was very happy with the play by both the sides. But at this point, Anirban, you played h3. May I ask why?
Yeah,
is it because play e5, knight g4 you wanted to prevent?
Yeah, I was trying to play e5. So I thought that I'll block his knights
from coming up. But do you understand? So from this angle of quality, quantity, time, what are we compromising with the move h3? In which area?
It's
The
a
quality or
like a
quantity or time?
slow,
It is slow.
We are
It's
slow. Yeah,
slowing
compromising
down the
time.
attack.
yeah.
Yeah, time. So, and who should compromise on time? Who should not compromise on time? The one who is invested material, who has sacrificed material,
They
should
can't.
not compromise on time.
Yeah, yeah.
So you have to act very quick to prove your compensation, right?
So
So what I would recommend probably is like queen e2 instead of h3. And why is queen e2? Because when you play e5,
Hmm.
it will have one more protection,
Yes, yes.
right? And not only that, I am developing my queen, and also I am threatening to bring my other rook to d1 and harass this queen. And also the d7 pawn is a backward pawn. Backward pawn means a pawn without another pawn support in an open file. So the d file is
Okay.
an open file,
Okay. Yeah.
and the d pawn doesn't have another pawn protection.
Right.
So even if he comes to d6, it will still not have a pawn protection,
Right.
right?
Right.
And it will be in a semi-open file. So ideally, would prefer to have the rook on d1 quickly.
Okay.
So you have to find a good square for the queen, right? So if you put the queen to b3, then he will get knight a5. So you have to find a square where the queen will not be harassed, a safe square. And if you go put the queen on c2, then later when he gets rook to c8, it will harass the queen, right? So queen e2 is a safe way, but it is like against activity, because I just said some time back, you should not hide your pieces behind your pawns. And we are like hiding the queen on e2 behind the pawn on e4, right? But how it can help is you can push the pawn and then the queen can go to e4, right? So the queen has a path. It is like in a junction.
Right.
It's not the final destination. You go to the junction. From the junction, you can move to other areas. So the h3, from that point, somehow the quality of your play gradually deteriorated.
Yeah, after this, though,
So
everything just collapsed.
h6, and now you came back bishop e3.
Should I
So
have
here again,
gone to
you're
h4?
losing time. Yeah, it would have been better to keep the pin, because you chose to develop the bishop for the pin. So it makes sense to stay on the pin.
Yeah, yeah.
If you wanted to put the bishop on e3, you should have done it on move when you played bishop
In
g5,
the first
like
move.
on move 7.
Yeah, yeah.
So instead of going bishop g5 and then coming back bishop e3, you could have done in one move bishop e3, right?
Right.
So
this is a very
and then,
nice understanding of time. Like
yeah,
I understand it much better now.
yeah. So the
Yeah.
time concept is very, very important, especially in the first 15 moves or 20 moves where we develop the pieces.
Right.
So you played bishop e3, so it lost time. And like I said, when you have invested material, sacrificed material, the time factor is all the more critical for you, right?
Yes.
And you should not ideally lose time like this. And now, Samay, I was not very happy with your move bb4.
Sir, but
So the problem for black is the development, right? We have not developed the rook a8, bishop c8, and queen d8. 3 of our pieces has not been developed. So our priority, and that is the precise reason why white has sacrificed a pawn. He has sacrificed a pawn to say that as white, I'm able to quickly develop on castle, but as black, you're not able to develop your pieces. So the queen d8, bishop c8, rook a8 combination, they're still not developed. So ideally, your thought process should be, how can I quickly get these pieces out?
I
Right?
thought if I go bishop b4 and I take his knight, and then he loses the defender of e4 and I can take that pawn.
Yeah, that's what happened in the game. So it basically turned out the way you wanted it to turn out, right? And
Yes.
that is because Anirban was cooperative. He was letting you do what you wanted to do, isn't it?
Here he could have then just gone e5, yeah, after bishop
Yeah,
b4.
so his e5 is a threat.
Ah.
So you probably should have played d6, paying attention to his threat. So another thing we can learn is, after every opponent move, ideally I would suggest first 5 to 10 seconds, you can just spend on not finding what you should do, but you could ask yourself, why did my opponent play this move, his previous move? Or you can ask, what is he going to do next? So when you ask that, what is he going to do next, on move 10 after bishop e3, you can find that he is starting to play e5.
Sir, at our
Right?
level, there is no way anybody can find out what we are planning to do next. Because we only don't know what we are going to do.
Yeah, I understand that, but you guys are playing already at a very decent level. right?
Yes.
So to go to the next level, it makes sense if we add some clues to our thought process, how we are thinking. If we can make some small adjustments, like what is my opponent want to do, and you give yourself like 5 to 10 seconds, not more.
Okay, sir.
And if there is some direct threat or something is under attack, at least we will not blunder things. That way we can avoid that. So first 5 to 10 seconds after every opponent move, we can keep like, I have to ask myself what he wants to do. Okay, so
Okay.
you played the bishop to b4, and from here, now you see there is a common mistake many upcoming players make, which is they move the same piece again and again in the opening phase, and that's what we are seeing here. The bishop e7, which was not under attack, it moved to bb4, but we have our reasons to do that, for making that mistake. uh, and you obliged by playing knight to b5. The knight is protected, it's not hanging. So if he takes bishop c3, you have pawn to c3. So you should have probably continued with your threat e5, and then the developing the bishop on c8 would not have been very easy for black. So I think bb4 was a small mistake, but you
Followed it up with
obliged
a
by,
big blunder.
yeah, knight b5 was a big mistake. And after that, knight into e4, Samay is simply 2 pawns up, and practically for all reasons, the game is over for
Yeah.
black.
Yeah.
And then a3, bishop e7, bishop f4. Again, you see the same syndrome. The bishop went to g5, it came to e3, now it is going to f4, right? The piece is moving multiple times. And if you just see the move number on f4, bishop f4, it is move 13,
Yeah.
right? In move 13, you have taken 3 moves. In 13 moves, you have spent 3 moves with the bishop, right? And that is loss of time.
Yeah.
So you should try to avoid. And then after bishop f4, d6 is a nice move. You just wanted to avoid all bishop c7, knight c7 traps.
Yes.
And again, Anirban, you played rook c1. This looks like a very natural developing move, but it doesn't do anything. It doesn't threaten anything in black position. So it basically gives one more time to Samay to do whatever he wants to do. So when you have sacrifice material, you have to keep opponent busy with threats.
Maybe rook e1.
So rook e1 or queen e2 would be a better way. By playing queen e2 or rook e1, you are keeping him busy defending the knight, and he cannot go back. For example, if rook e1 knight here, you can win 1 pawn back on knight d6, right? So probably for rook e1, maybe he has to play d5. You're forcing him to do this, right? And I feel black should still be better, but this is a move Samay had to find, because psychologically it is tough, because he just played d6 the previous move.
Yeah, I would have
And
never
then to
played d5.
follow it up with d5, psychologically it could be tough.
Got it.
I think after you missed this chance, it was downhill all the way.
Sir, can you please appreciate knight g3, sir, please?
Yeah. So at that point, so at this point, like when he played queen b6, initially I was not understanding why he did it, and then I saw that he's keeping this trap. And at this point, Samay came on chat and he said like he's hoping Anirban will play rook e1 and not see queen e2. But Anirban, he not only missed knight g3, but he also put the queen end price.
Oh man.
When you take so that you will lose more material. So
This is my
Anirban,
COB practice.
Anirban's a very giving person.
yeah. So Anirban, probably what is happening to you probably is like you are overextending yourself a bit too much, and maybe you should curtail that. So how they say is like you should not sacrifice for the sake of sacrificing.
No, I
Okay, you
sacrifice to
sacrifice
confuse somewhere. Like
okay, try not to confuse. Try not to apply psychology too much at this
Right.
level. Try to play good quality chess. Okay, and that nothing confuses the opponent by good moves. Okay? Continuously play good moves, no? It will confuse your opponents. So sacrificing material should not be only for confusing the opponent. So it should also have some valid reason.
If you want to confuse me, then play 1 f3, king f2. I will be completely confused. All right, sir.
It's like the openings I have like developed over the last year have all been like some gambit or the other.
Oh, that is fine. Playing
So
gambit is fine, but
uh,
only thing when you are gambiting, the time
uh,
factor
yeah,
becomes
no, no,
more critical.
no. I played a very bad game, no doubt about it. And whatever you said, like I'll try to keep in mind in every game.
Yeah, so just try to keep the time factor. Don't time factor is we compromise when we move same piece again and again.
Sir, in next game
Okay.
only you see how Anirban will do the
Yeah,
same
so we
mistake
can.
again, sir.
Arey, I'll try.
Let's play. Let's play.
Okay,
All right.
Yeah.
I'm going off.
Let's go. Ramesh sir, do you want to be able to draw arrows?
But I'm just worried you will be able to see it during the game. If that is not going to happen, then
no, I
I
won't
would
be able
love
to
to
see
put
the game
arrows.
because I'll be seeing OBS will be behind my PC.
Fine. Okay.
Yeah.
So then I will show the arrows.
Yeah, if you can screen share and I'll just put your thing over there. Anirban, this is your moment. All right. Sir, it's too big, this thing. Can you adjust it?
Um,
Yeah, it's adjusted now. Perfect.
is it okay?
Yes, sir. I'm just quickly now putting your thing. Okay, this is this. This is this. Done. Very unique color of board, sir, you have.
It's just a chess.com.
Okay. So do you see any chance of us one of us becoming like like an IM or something like that? You can be honest.
Why not? No, why not? It will require a lot of effort.
Okay, sir. So
Ideally, like 3 hours of practice for maybe 3 to 5 years.
3 to 5 years.
3 to 5 years. It depends. You also have to start playing over the board competitions, where the pressure will be much higher because there'll be someone sitting right in front of you, and all his mannerisms, it can have an impact.
Sir,
on us.
you could have just said no, sir. Instead of sir, for some reason I can't see the time of the opponent below. Maybe if
Okay, so I will extend it.
Perfect, sir. Okay. Sir, can you turn on the evaluation bar also, because chat really loves to see the bar go up and down. On the right side near play, you'll see evaluation.
One moment. I made my screen bigger.
Just 1 second.
Sure.
So where do I get the evaluation?
Right now on the top right where there's play, you'll be able to see that there's a button which you can click.
Yeah.
Was the right side. Did you find it?
Okay. Yeah, I got it.
Awesome. Perfect. Okay, guys, let's spoil Ramesh's morning with another game.
So the next game will happen in the same screen, right?
Yes,
Same
sir.
board.
Sir, who are all the players that you have been coaching right now, and what was their rating when they just began with you?
Okay, so when Pragnananda came to me, he was like 7.5 years old, and at the time he was 1750, I guess.
Oh, that's my peak rating. So I have hope. And what about others, sir?
And I'm also with Arvind Chidambaram. He's a national champion the last 2 years, 2019 and 2018. But 2020, we did not have the national championship. So he is 2640, his rating. And when he came, he was 11 years old and probably around 2100 or so.
Oh.
So now it's 2640. And I'm also working with Daniel Naroditsky from US.
Oh, you're working with Anna. We all really admire him. I mean, I watch so many of his videos and all.
Yeah, so he's very busy with streaming, but during the lockdown, he felt he also has to he has time to improve his practical strength because he was mostly streaming and not practicing. So we started working from last year.
So in this Gurukul Academy of yours, do you even take like 1100s and 1200s?
Yeah, we have children joining us who don't know chess at all. So So we have different coaches for different levels of players.
Oh, nice, nice. Awesome, awesome. All right,
Yeah.
sir. We are just beginning the match. Anirban, whenever you're ready.
Ready.
Okay. Must have started. Did it start, sir? Yes, started. All right,
Yeah.
sir.
So now Samay is white. He's playing e4. Okay. Sicilian. So both players play Sicilian. F4. This is not considered a best move because after F4, they get the option to play D5. So this is probably the better option. But Anirban hesitated and he's focusing on completing his development. And now Sama is playing D4. Probably CD4 is a better option. Keeping the knight D4 option. Probably after the game, I will explain this in detail. After D4, if we take CD4, knight D4, then black retains the option whether to take knight D4 or not. But in the game he took, okay, so probably he wants to come knight C6, and then but he has this move, a very safe square for the white queen. So I would expect to quickly develop pieces, Samay to develop some piece, either the knight coming to C3 or the bishop coming to D3 or C4. So I would expect the Samay to develop one of his pieces, not move the queen yet, because I already mentioned that we should not move the same piece multiple times in our game, right? So the queen is centralized, not under attack.
Sir, since I know in the last game you told him not to play H3, he will not play A6 here. You see, sir. This is how 1400 chess works.
Oh my God, I didn't know that. So Samay is just telling me that because in the previous game I told Anirban not to play H3.
He really, really
Because it is
wants to
wasting
play
time.
A6, but he's like,
Yeah, yeah.
Ramesh sir just told me not to play that move. Let me not play it.
Oh my God. Samay, can others hear you as well? Okay, so Samay doesn't he doesn't hear what I'm replying back. So Samay just said like because in the previous game I told Anirban not to play pawn moves which wastes time. So he wants to play a6 desperately, but because I said not to make pawn moves, he will not. He's hesitating to play. But here a6 is the move he should play because it comes with attacking the bishop. It comes with a tempo. So I think he has to play a6 because we want to get knight c6 attacking the queen, right? And Anirban, okay, Samay quickly understood his psychology. Okay, that's a good thing. Samay is using opponent psychology against him because what he felt is Anirban will simply follow the instructions to the book and not use logic to compare things. So that's a very good way. And bishop b5 will make sense if he's going to take the knight. But the problem is more exchanges. So Samay, I don't know about his style, whether he likes to keep more pieces on attack or is he also is fine with going to end games. So if he's fine to go to end games, he can save time by not running back with the queen. So here there is a small mistake. I think this move is probably not the correct move. If you can see, black has kept his pawns in light squares, right? When you keep all your pawns in white color, what automatically happens is the dark squares will become exposed. Dark squares will become weak. Okay. And what has happened with white is he has pushed this pawn to f4, and as a result, he has exposed this diagonal, right? This is not a good move at all, because what is happening here, you can see black is keeping all his pawns in light squares, and now the bishop he probably wants to develop here. But what happens is, if you put the bishop here, then all these squares become weak, this diagonal, right? This square especially becomes very weak. And if he develops the bishop to e7, this diagonal, then playing this move doesn't make any sense at all. So I don't like g6 move by black. He should have probably simply developed the bishop. Now, Samay plays cleverly. The point is, if he comes here, he wants to exchange the bishop, right? But here, one small problem is we are playing two moves with the same piece. Like I said in the opening, ideally we should try not to move the same piece multiple times. So what I would have considered is probably wait for him to do this, and then we can come queen a3 to prevent his king from castling. I think you can do it even now, so it is perfectly fine. I think black's position is very critical already, because one, you can see his pieces are not developed, only one knight has come out, and in comparison you can see white has already developed three, so it is 3-1, right? Three pieces white has developed, whereas black has developed only one piece. So development wise, white is much ahead, but even otherwise, because of all this pawn structure, the dark squares have become very weak. And that is what Samay is trying to exploit. Okay, so now the pawn on b2 is under attack. So I'm expecting Samay to play something like the bishop to c3. That is a possibility. Or we also have to realize that black wants to castle the king to safety. So from that angle, I would have preferred queen a3 instead of bishop c3, because the queen will protect the b pawn, which is one of the things we need to do, and also prevent the black king from castling. So queen a3 would have done two jobs, protecting b2 and also preventing black from castling. Whereas now we have protected the b2, saved the b2 pawn, but what we have not done is prevented him from castling. And Anirban played f6. I think this is a very bad move, because he's losing time, right? Instead, what he could have done, he could have simply castled the king. That's what he should have done. But playing f6 is avoiding the dark color bishop exchange. But you can see all these pawn moves, right? So too many pawn moves in the opening, it creates weaknesses. So one thing we have to learn is pawn moves create weaknesses. So Samay, you see, he's, instead of making pawn moves, he's playing with his pieces, he's developing pieces. So now it is 4 versus 2, right? And probably he wants to castle long, and then if black castles on the king side, he can have the chance to go for an attack. So now Anirban castles, but probably he should have done this the previous move. The previous move itself, he should have castled possibly. Yeah. So now both sides have castled, but both sides have castled on the opposite side. White has castled on the queen side, black has castled on the king side. And so now it will be like whose attack will be stronger. So black should try to attack on the queen side. So now is a good time to play a6. And then if the bishop moves back, push the pawn b5 and try to attack the white king on the queen side. And similarly, Samay should try to attack the black king. And how he can do that is by advancing his h pawn, thereby including the rook in the attack. So now Anirban, he plays the queen, is attacking this pawn, right? And probably one of the reason why he played is he wants to play a6, and when the bishop c6 happens, maybe he wants to take with the d pawn, because the rook in front of queen, he was probably uncomfortable doing it. But Samay, he understood Anirban very well. This is a move black should have done for a very long time. Last few moves, black should have played a6, gained a tempo, because that is when he will be able to play b5. But because in the previous game I said don't make pawn moves, now this is a defensive move. I'm not very sure this is required, but it makes sense. He does not want to lose a pawn and he's not playing this. So you see again the same problem, moving the same piece again and again. So now this move looks very attractive, using the bishop to pin the knight. So this is a problem. Now the knight on c6 was not under attack, and there is no need to move a piece which is not under attack. It's not in any danger to move it again, but that's what he does. So for those of you who are watching, this is a very important lesson. Try not to move the same piece again and again. So he should have played a6. So I like bishop b4 here. If, yeah, okay, so Samay played. So he's paying attention to what the opponent is doing. And this is a very important skill in chess. Many times what happens, how players play, when we play white, we play like this. It means this is white, this is black. We just don't see what the opponent is doing. And when we play black, we play like this. We don't see what the other side is doing. But in this case, Samay, he is paying attention to the drawback of the opponent's previous move. Okay, so finally, Anirban goes for activity. But even now, if you see, the bishop cannot come because we have these 2 units, right? But if we take the pawn, most likely he will take it with the pawn because the knight is pinned, right? So when white takes the pawn, he will take with the pawn. And after that, the bishop will get this square available, also this square, right? These 2 squares will become available for the black bishop. So in such situations, it is better for, from white's angle, that black has this pawn on e6, which will curtail his bishop from coming out. Okay, so this exchange is not good because it will allow the bishop to become free, active. So once we realize I should not exchange and allow his bishop to come out, then we should ask, what is his threat? There is basically no threat. If he takes, we can take, right? So no problem. And if he's going to push this pawn, we don't have to worry about it. So once we realize black simply does not have any threat, then you have time to launch your own attack on the king side. So white can simply start h4, h5 and try to open the h file with h into g6. This is a very good way to play. Another way, you can say, let me remove my king away from the harm. So it is in the same file as the queen, right? So one way is to simply move the king to b1. In this way, the white king will feel more safe. So I said sometime back before this game, I'm not sure this exchange is required. I don't know how it helps white, because the knight was not going anywhere. It was under pin. So I don't like this exchange much. I think now most of black's problems have been solved. So you should simply capture. And now you see the bishop will be able to come out to these 2 squares and also put some pressure against the king, right? So what ideally black will want, he will put the bishop here and get the rook to put pressure here. So probably this is why Samay wanted to take. But what he could have done is, without taking this, he could have done pawn into pawn on rook e1, keeping the knight alive, and that would have been under pin. But now one problem with this move is that when the bishop eventually comes here, the rook will not be able to move because the rook has blocked. That is one small drawback. But here I don't like this move because I can attack the queen and get the knight to the central d4 square. Yeah. So now he's going to lose this pawn. So probably the queen has to go one of these 2 squares. In both the cases, the d5 pawn will be lost. So probably this is what Samay is trying to do. You can see that all the white pieces has already developed, whereas for black, the bishop and rook are yet to be developed. Okay, so now he is threatening to take the pawn. The point is, if we try to support it with this, then this is hanging. This rook will be hanging. So we have to put the other rook. So we can put the other rook, which will attack the queen and also save the pawn. Yeah, Samay has done it. So now the queen has to go probably all the way back here. That's what I'm expecting from Anirban. And this you could have done on the previous move itself directly without coming to queen of 2. But Anirban is thinking, I don't know what other option he has. Only other option is the queen coming here. But now maybe here, and the queen is in trouble. So he's doing some small tactic. The point is, if queen d5, bishop c4, he will lose the queen. But in general, I would consider not to take such pawns. Oh, Anirban simply he fell into the trap. So Samay is very happy. Okay, so you can see it is how the nerves of the players, emotions of the players, it is affecting the quality of the game we play, right? Anirban somehow is emotionally responding to what is happening. So as a result, he is making some mistakes, which I think otherwise he will not make. Okay, there is a one more trap. He is threatening one more trap. So I think Samay will notice it. So there are a few ways to stop this mate. One is simply move this pawn and giving the c2 square for your king. This is one way. The other way is to come back all the way. But this looks little passive because Samay is attacking along the 7th rank, right? He doesn't want to do that. Yeah, this is a very nice way to prevent the threat as well. Now all the checks are stopped. This is a threat and he's losing more material. The point is, if he plays rook g8 now, you can still take rook g7, rook into g7 and queen into d8. That is happening. So now the queen is going to be harassed permanently along the 7th rank, but I think it is time to just eat as many pawns as you want and then probably come back with the queen. So I'm just expecting him to play rook b8 at this point. So Anirban, he is sacrificed too much material. He is not probably controlling his emotions better. He is giving up too much material. Okay, so this is a threat, but you can see, even if he gives rook c to check, we can simply come king d1 and the king is very safe, right? So I'm just expecting him to capture. Yeah, now it's practically over for Anirban. Now he is going to threaten mate. So just come and hide behind the knight. So now here this is threatened. I'm expecting him to play like g4, g5, sorry. But it's practically over. Yeah, okay, it's just investing too much material. Now it's practically gone. You just have to escape from checks and it's over. So 1 or 2 checks is going to give probably, and then all the checks are stopped. Okay, so now even a move like this is very tempting. If you go here, then g5, yeah, this is also good enough. There is no way to stop this. It's over. I'm expecting Anirban either to get checkmated in the next few moves or give up anytime now. So what Samay has done to chess is, which I was not aware of the impact what he has done to chess, because when, even though chess was invented in India, for a very long time it did not capture public's attention, And then we had Vishwanathan Anand, who became world champion and also a grandmaster at the age of 19, first grandmaster from India. And okay, so I think queen of 6, and the next move discovered checkmate. So okay, now you can just give discovered check and it's mate. Yeah.
Oh, hello.
Yeah. So there were many interesting moments, but Samay, first I have to congratulate you on using the psychology.
Which
You
one?
explained like in the previous game you said like I
Yeah.
told h3 don't play h3 wasting pawn move, and so Anirban Samay mentioned like you won't play a6 in this game because I told you not to
Yeah,
make
yeah.
pawn moves in the opening, right? So you literally took it, and
Oh yeah,
but
I was
probably
thinking whether to remove that. Arey yaar. Oh
There was
man.
no other reason to play that bishop b6,
yeah, it was purely psychological move.
Oh.
You
bishop
just
b5.
were sure that he will not play
I was
a6.
100% sure he will not do it.
Mm, okay,
I did not
so
sack anything also.
no, but you started blundering at some point. No,
That's
there were
why.
some very instructive mistakes in this game by both sides. You want to continue with the next game, or
So we
how
can
do we do
analyze.
it?
It's very nice to
Yeah,
always
yeah.
analyze.
Okay, so I am making moves on the board. You can see, I
Yes,
believe,
so we
right?
can see.
Yeah. So at this point, f4 immediately it permits d5. This is probably the best way to handle against f4.
ED?
And
Which one?
ed now, one option is to take queen d5, and when you play knight c3, go all the way back. This is one way to play, and threaten to give double the pawns. You can do this. So this is one way to handle the position. And after d5, ed5, black can also consider knight f6 to take with the knight. And if you play c4 to protect the pawn, you can play like the gambit style. So, and then you develop the knight and then long castle. So this gives very good compensation, but because you see, white has not developed any piece and he has made too many pawn moves. And generally when we make too many pawn moves, it creates some weaknesses. So here you can see this square especially is very weak. The knight can come here, right? So this gives very good compensation for black. So for f4, d5 is probably the best move, and you can try to keep the position closed with this kind of play and denying the knight coming here. So this will be, you can maybe see a few games so that you will know. So if you want to play f4, it makes sense to first play knight c3, deny him this option, and let's say suppose he develops the knight, now go f4. So he does
Vienna.
not get this d5 option possibility at all.
Okay, sir.
So this is one way to consider. Okay, so in the game for f4 he played knight c6, and now you played knight f3, e6, d4. You're opening up the position, and now Anirban, you made an instructive mistake. You took with the knight, right? Twice, but you started with the knight move. It makes sense generally. So let me put it this way. Suppose you want to, let's say, catch a flight, or let's say catch a bus. Okay. And there are two bus stations in your city. In one bus station, only one bus company operates. And in the other bus station, there are multiple bus companies operating. So if you're planning to leave, which bus station you would prefer if you don't have a reservation?
Uber, sir.
Uber.
Uber pooled.
Expected.
But we would go
Okay.
where there are more buses.
Multiple
Yeah, the more
options.
options available, right? So basically, you have to play moves which keeps your options alive. You should not commit yourself to one plan very soon. Okay, so you should play moves which will give you more options. So even if you want to exchange everything, you should start with the pawn move, because you have the option to take or simply ignore. Maybe you can do something like this also, right? Isn't it? Now, if I take, you just take, and I will not be able to castle so easily, right? But you took with the knight. But here, what is happening after knight d4, cd4? Now you are basically entering this position by force. Whereas had you started with this, now you have the option. If you want, you can take or play some other move.
Even
Right?
bishop c5, no?
Yeah, bishop c5 is also very tempting. So this is a very small mistake, but these things can be corrected once you are aware, right? Just don't commit yourself to one plan too prematurely. Keep your options open. Okay, so he took and you played knight e7. Now you want to play knight c6, and now what Samay did was psychologically very clever. He put the bishop here because, and he came on the chat and he said like, I'm sure he will not play a6 because in the previous game you said don't play h3 because it is time wasting, right? There h3 was not attacking anything.
Yeah.
But here a6 you are attacking the bishop, right?
I
So you should
did
have
not.
played a6
I did
and
not
then
play.
just push
I
and
was
then do this.
I was thinking. I was not thinking right. I was thinking to develop that light square bishop. So I was thinking, ki, okay, how do I get that to b7? So I was like, ki, okay, I was not worried about that bishop. But then, like after a point, it became a problem.
Yeah, so you could have easily won a tempo by
Mm.
playing a6, but you played knight c6, which is fine. This was your initial idea.
Mm.
And now, Samay, you went queen a4. This I'm not very sure. Probably it makes sense to come here.
I thought, sir, that with queen
The
a4,
square.
I'm not allowing his bishop to develop the c8 bishop.
The point is, yeah, we don't want him to play this bishop coming to this nice diagonal. So to prevent that, maybe it made sense to either come here or e3. You went queen a4. Why I did not like queen a4 is because of this move.
I
Now you
actually,
don't have the
sir,
option to put the bishop back.
I wanted to
So you have
provoke
to take
a6.
and take.
No. I wouldn't take. I would just keep it like that, and I would
So
play.
maybe come back.
No, I would just not move the bishop.
Ah,
He wouldn't be able to take because I will take the rook.
so because of the pin. So you
Yes.
think like I don't have to do
I would
that.
just
So
develop.
probably okay. So if you castle, maybe he gets queen check.
I would go knight c3 and long castle.
Yeah. So in this case, he can capture
Yeah.
like this.
That's why, sir, I
So
played
probably
bishop d2.
for a6, you probably would do knight c3.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it makes sense. In that case, like he doesn't have to capture. He can do this and prevent this castling.
Bishop d2.
And when you play bishop d2, he can castle.
And then I will also castle.
Yeah, you would also castle. So this is probably what he should have done.
This is fine, right? Like if
Yeah, it's fine, perfectly fine. But at this point, you have to be careful because somehow, let's say I take here. I'm just worried the queen could get trapped because all these squares not available.
Bishop a7,
right?
Yes.
So if I somehow move the bishop like d6, bd7 or something after moving the queen, this queen could get into trouble. But okay, that is too far ahead to see. But anyway, your point of queen a4 is when he plays a6, you don't have to waste time moving.
Yes.
And now, Anirban, you made a very bad positional mistake. You played g6, right? Now, what happens is when you keep all your pawns on white squares like this, right? You keep all your white pawns like this, automatically it weakens your dark squares. So please understand, pawn moves create weaknesses. Okay, pawn moves create weaknesses. So when you keep all the pawns in white, the dark squares will become weak. And then the problem is by playing e6, you have already weakened the square, right? And by playing g6, you are weakening these squares as well. And the bishop will not be able to control all these three weak squares from one square. So if you come this way, then this will become weak. And if you come this way, d6 becomes weak, right? So you're just creating weaknesses. Instead, what you could have done?
Develop
D5?
the bishop.
Yeah, simply develop the bishop and then castle, right? There was no need to make this pawn move. And then at some point, you have to get this, try to roll the pawns. So g6 was a bad positional mistake. And you played bd2. Samay, I like this move. So you immediately wanted to exploit the weakened dark squares.
Yes.
And he played bishop g7 and bishop c3. And now, Anirban, you should realize that you are falling behind in development, right? So many pieces are not developing, not developed. So you should give priority to development. So simply castle. Okay, you should have done this. Now the thing is, you should not take bishop c3, knight c3 and castle. Why?
Dark
What's the
square
difference?
weakness.
Dark squares anyway will be weakened after the black color bishop is exchanged. But here what is happening? We are simply have helped
they
white
developed.
to develop a piece, and now he will do this also, right? So we are simply helped white to develop two pieces by taking on c3. But by playing castle, here also you are exchanging the bishop. But what happened to the knight and king? They are still not developed. Understood? So this exchange will help white to develop a piece with, right? So you should have directly gone castle. And if he takes and plays knight c3, you gained a move. Let us compare with this situation. You take bishop c3, knight c3, castle, and now white already got this.
This is much better for
You can, when you compare, this is much better version for white, isn't it?
Yeah.
So after bishop c3, you should simply have castled. Okay, but you played f6. This is wasting time. And
Here I was considering g4.
yeah, that is fine, but probably after you develop on castle.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is probably a bit premature. But what you did is good. You just, you just developed your piece with knight d2 and then castle. These moves were very logical from both sides, and you played queen c7. This is a developing move, so I'm not criticizing. And also you are attacking this pawn. And Samay played g3. So ideally I would want white to go for an attack, but since you have to,
f4 was hanging, so I was
yeah,
scared.
the pawn was hanging, we have to waste one time. But generally how strong players think is they will see g3 as time waste. We are losing time. Okay, so how they will think in a standard time control, not in a blitz game, they will find ways to avoid playing g3 because it's waste one tempo, right? Can I sacrifice this pawn for some activity? They would try to think like that. And now Anirban, you again made a big mistake. I would have preferred you to play a6 and then probably rook b8. Then you will be threatening the bishop, and then you get b5. So you have to get a6, b5, b4. This attack you have to do because you have castled on the opposite sides, and he is going to attack your king. Okay, so you have to get this pawn moving, b5, b4, and for that you need a6. Okay, and after a6, even though you cannot take immediately, you can always move the rook and then play b5, b4. Okay, so this is what you should have done. But you played knight to e7. Now this is again a mistake which I said in the previous game. Moving the same piece again and again, which is not under attack. So the knight was not under attack, so it need not have gone. And Samay, you exploited that by playing bb4, the pin. And now you played d5. And here, Samay, I would have simply preferred you to simply ignore and go h4, h5 directly.
I was thinking that, but then I thought,
Yeah.
what if he has d4, or after I first thought ed, but ed pay he was taking knight take, so I discarded it. Then I thought h4, but I thought h4 maybe he'll come d4, maybe he'll come de, so I
Yeah,
didn't want to
so
risk it.
how we, yeah, understood. But how we can think is now, whenever we take this pawn, let us say, if we take ed5, I think you would go ed5. But then you wanted to play rook here and pin.
No, after ed5 he might have gone knight d5 is what I was worried about.
Knight d5
Yeah.
and sacrifice this exchange.
Oh no, that I didn't think.
Okay, so that's
That
why
I also
like
did not
You also didn't think?
No.
Welcome, brother. 1400.
so 95, then the rook is hanging.
Oh, that's
Okay.
why I got
So,
scared.
yeah, but my point is, if you see these two pawns, they are curtailing these two bishops, right?
Yeah.
They are blocking these two bishops diagonal. So any exchange will open up the diagonal for his pieces. So like I said, three things, let's put it this way. First is king safety. At any cost, keep your king safe. And the more pawn moves you make in front of your king, the more weaker the king can become. So because you have made these two pawn moves, it gives me a hook. to launch and open the H file, right? So keep the king safe. The second, keep your pieces active, right? Now, since black's two bishops are passive, and mainly because of these two pawns, right? So we should, as white, let him have these two pawns in these two squares. And if he's going to take de4, it is only helping the knight to come to the central square and also opens our rook. So white need not worry about this. And if he plays d4, we can simply ignore. There is nothing is threatening after that, right? So you could have gone h4, h5 probably. So, but what you did was also good. You took bishop e7, queen e7, ed5, ed5, and rook e1. So
Just
white has completed his development,
wanted to
and
keep
the pawn is
time.
also weak. Yeah. So positionally, it is a good decision. And now you should have gone queen c7. Okay. So don't put the queen in square where it can be attacked easily by the opponent. Okay. So you should have put the queen to c7, and it also threatens bishop f5 or bishop to g4, attacking the rook. Right. So you should have played here. This would have threatened bishop here and also bishop f5, both these threats. So basically, like that thing I mentioned, no, you keep more options open. But you played queen c5, it just encourages, you're literally forcing Samay to play this move. Right? And so even here, you should have accepted that I have exposed my queen and gone back. Keep some pressure here. Okay. And when it takes the pawn, you come out with the bishop to attack this. So this is what you should have done, but you played queen f2. So lone queen, it cannot do much damage. So rook e2, queen f3, rook d5, and now this is simply bad. But Samay, I also would have considered not taking this pawn, because generally what happens? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, go ahead, Samay.
I was actually thinking of rook e2, or I was also thinking of just bringing knight d4.
Yeah, so this I like very much.
But then I thought कि एक 4 आने का trap लगा के देखते हैं.
Okay, so you couldn't resist it.
Yeah.
Okay, and then it's practically over. Yeah, after this it's practically
Yeah,
over for black.
How was it, Anirban Das Gupta? How was the session?
Good, I guess. Oh,
You know,
man.
sir, Anirban won the second season of Comedians on Board, and now it's the 5th
Wow.
season. So,
Okay. So I think others are getting better as well. So it's becoming more tougher.
No,
for
sir.
Anirban.
My win was like just a random freak win. I'll send you the final match. Watch it when you're outside Russia, because in Russia that match is not.
Okay. No,
in
but
Russia, if you watch that match, they will take away your passport, sir.
No, but Samay, your quality of games are very decent for your level. Like considering you have not played any professional tournaments and all. So just by playing online games and attending these sessions, you have improved phenomenally.
Thank
You
you
have
so much,
understood most of the concepts quite well. In Anirban's case, like I would say, like your heart is in the right place, right? You want to take risk, you believe in yourself, all that is very good, right? Now you just have to bring some discipline into your thinking. Just try to avoid these silly things, like you move the knight from here to e7, right? So these are all very easily avoidable mistakes. So once we realize there are certain things we should not do, and you simply follow it, with more discipline, your quality of play will drastically improve as well.
What a polite way of saying Anirban is a terrible player, sir.
Very nice start to COB preparation.
But yeah, I hope
confidence.
Anirban, this will give you some,
shattered.
encouragement to now. You know where your game lies now. You have to now rise up to the occasion. By the way, I also brought you down from 1400 to 1399.
Oh man, that's like every Tuesday. It's okay.
Oh man! All right, thank you so much, sir, for joining from Sochi, Russia. And the
My
players will
pleasure.
be, I think, starting at 5:30 p.m.
No, it's 5:30 Indian time.
Yeah. So guys,
So in another 12 minutes, yeah.
You'll be able to see all the matches on ChessBase India. Actually, chat had planned the next session with Vaibhav Sethi at 5:30 with Soumya, but I just realized that the World Cup is gonna happen. So you guys better watch the World Cup on Chessbase India, and do subscribe to Ramesh sir. We'll be doing many streams with him on his channel as well. And Ramesh sir, anything else you'd like to say before you
No, you guys
we
are
end the
doing
stream?
a phenomenal job. You have taken the game to the masses, and this is what the federation has been struggling to do for a very
Correct.
long time. And as players, they can only contribute to popularizing the game by playing good quality games, winning titles for the country, becoming stars in the process, and that will enthuse more people to come. But it's a very slow process, and in the absence of TV media support, even the print media, they're not paying as much attention. If there is a cricket tournament and chess tournament, all the last 2 pages will go for cricket.
Yeah.
So taking the game to the masses, it was a big challenge for the federation and organizers, but you guys have
Correct, sir.
shown a very professional way and a clean way to take the game to the masses. So on behalf of the chess community, I thank Samay and
Correct, sir.
your team for doing a great
Thank you.
service to the game.
Thank you so much. Clean, I don't know, but definitely we are taking it to masses, sir. But little
Yeah.
unclean sometimes. But yeah, we do our best.
No,
So
yeah.
thank you so much, Ramesh, sir, for joining, and have a good time in Russia, sir. Bye bye.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
All right, sir.
Bye bye.
The chat. With that, we've come to an end of this session. Bye bye. Take care, and please follow Chessbase India. They are going to be streaming right now. द एंटायर द वर्ल्ड कप, तो आप लोग वहाँ पे मैचेस देख सकते हो जो भी आपके फेवरेट प्लेयर्स है. आज विदित नहीं खेल रहा है, शायद आदिबान खेल रहा है, शायद निहाल खेल रहे, प्रग खेल रहे, बहुत अमेजिंग प्लेयर्स खेल रहे हैं. तो डेफिनेटली चेक इट आउट गाइज. एंड मज़ा, आज पूरा दिन भर चेस होगा, और शायद 11:30 PM को ख़त्म हो इनका ये चेस बेस इंडिया का स्ट्रीम. उसके बाद शायद मैं और एक चेस स्ट्रीम रखूँ, देखते. लेट्स फिगर इट आउट. आई बी प्लेइंग चेस एनीवे.